Good evening. The time is 7 o'clock and a quorum of the Conservation Commission being present, I call this meeting to order. First item on the agenda is meeting minutes, but we don't have any yet, so we will skip to agenda item A. Public hearing, abbreviated notice of resource area delineation, Civil Design Consultants, Inc., Vale Street and Tadmuck Circle, Assessors Map 112, lots 23, 87 to 94, continued from the last meeting, DEP file number 3051141. Please state your name for the record.
You bet. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jim Hanley, Civil Design Consultants. So we were in front of you a couple weeks ago. I think it was for our second meeting, actually, or our first meeting, I'm not sure. But we have a request for a resource area delineation for a property along Vale Street. At the time we had finished the survey, we had flagged all the wetlands, we had located all the wetlands, we had submitted the plan, we had talked to Wetlands and Land Management Inc., Bill Manuel. They walked the site with the conservation agent as well as Norse Environmental, and we were waiting for a final review letter, which we were hoping to have the last time. But we did get it last week. In essence, I think the summary of this thing here is that the resource areas shown on the plan are consistent with his review. We modified a handful of flags to be able to reach agreement on, say 10 out of 300 flags, give or take. There is one item that he specifically states here, and I'll just kind of give you the net on it, is that there's an area in the wetland that has vernal pool characteristics. It's not mapped as a certified vernal pool or even a potential vernal pool, but it has characteristics that could be. This time of year is tough, especially when you consider all the rain that we've gotten over the last, say, 4 months, give or take. So we're aware of that. If and when we were to move forward with any kind of development on the site, we'd be mindful of it. We'd do what we could to stay as far away from it as we could. Having said that, I think that's basically the summary where it stands. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them for you.
Do you have any questions?
So after my review of the town's consultant's letter, just echoing his comments, essentially, there's vernal pool characteristics somewhere within the site. If there were to be construction, that would just have to be readdressed because it needs to be assessed in the springtime, I believe, to see if that basin supports the wildlife necessary for it to be characterized as a vernal pool. So that, in addition to Bank, that the wetland resource of Bank was delineated for perennial streams. It was not delineated for intermittent streams. So the intermittent streams on the updated site plans are essentially approximate, whereas the perennial stream bank is approved or would be approved. Other than that, I have no comments.
Anybody else have any comments?
I just have one question. The wetland flags that were changed, were they consistent?
I missed it.
The wetland flags that were changed, were they consistent or were they throughout? Like if you had 300 wetland flags.
Yeah, so there was probably 2 pockets where they changed by 10, 12 feet, give or take. And I think Manuel identifies which flags those are. But they were essentially in 2 different locations on the site.
2 different locations, yeah. Okay. So it wasn't consistent, so it was
Oh, yeah,
throughout.
no, it wasn't like everything moved 8 feet. There was just 2 little pockets that...
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
This is a public hearing. If there's anybody from the public who would like to ask any questions, just ask that you go up to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Mark Pileski, 136 Vale Street. So I guess is this all we're going to be talking about today? And what exactly just transpired?
So they're applying, or they're asking for an abbreviated notice of resource delineation. So that's what we're talking about today. It's the placement of the wetland flags along the bordering vegetated wetlands. I can't really say much more than that. That's the thing that's being applied for, and that's what we're talking about today.
Okay, so this is just the start and there'll be continuations of this in the future? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that this is a applicant coming for one specific reason.
Okay.
If they choose to develop, if anybody who owns this land chooses to do something else, they will be required to come to this board and apply for a notice of intent, and in all likelihood, like, they'll be in the 100-foot buffer zone. So they'll be required to come here and apply to us.
So if I could, Mr. Chairman, just for the benefit of everybody here, the idea here is to agree on the line, and then if we were to come back in the future, we would know where the line is before we did any design work. That's basically the idea. Not reviewing any development, no proposal in front of you tonight with that.
Yeah, so right now, we don't have any, potential, or we don't have anything, any applications before us besides this one issue. It's just the bordering vegetated wetlands that we're talking about.
So this is just to determine what land is available to be developed, if any, correct?
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go for it.
Judy Norton, 119 Vale Street. I've lived there for 40-something years. There used to be the kids considered a pollywog pond. There used to be a pond down there. So I don't know if the pond is dried up now or what, but that's always been swampland. So I don't know, are they going to do perk tests over the whole thing or just in certain areas? And I'd like to know when they're going to do the perk tests.
Yeah, again, I mean, this is only so that we know where our wetlands are on this lot. We know what we have available if we were to develop it in the future. We have no plans to do perk tests right now, just to figure out what land is considered upland at this point. And obviously, if we were to move forward, we'd be back in front of you, as well as planning board. There'd be a public hearing. We'd notify abutters. We go through all the steps that are required by the town and the state.
I agree with them delineating the wetland. I have no problem with that. But my problem is, when do you do the perk tests? Because you're going to have to do it to delineate. I mean, if you do it when there's nothing, then you're going to sit there and say, oh my God, it's perfect. If you do it in the spring or when the water...
Yeah, so that's one of the things that the wetland scientist who the town hired to go out and delineate the wetlands notes in his letters that, like, there's a potential vernal pool there, but because of the time of the year, because of the recent rain that we've had, he can't tell for sure if it's actually a vernal pool. So, really to determine that, you need a wetland scientist to go out and monitor it multiple times per year. But they're not required to do that right now because this is only focusing on the wetland flags.
Well, how can you tell when the wetland classic is without doing a perk test? I don't understand.
A perk test is more about infiltration of water, the rate of infiltration.
Correct.
Right, so it's kind of putting the cart before the horse. That would only be warranted if there was proposed construction, if there was proposed septic system going in there, but that's not happening yet. It's just to determine where the wetland resources are, and that's it. You can determine a wetland boundary without doing percolation tests. It's based off of soil characteristics and vegetation, but it doesn't involve infiltration tests that a perk test would require.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Mike Taylor, 118 Vale Street. So when was the last time previous to this that the delineation was done?
I believe that was 2011, is that?
Yes.
And how much has it changed in those 10 years?
I don't know, without reviewing those plans and, right next to these plans, I don't know how much it's changed. I know that both times, multiple wetland scientists went out there and they moved some flags around and agreed upon where the lines are, essentially.
Yeah, because there's been a tremendous amount of development around that area that has increased the amount of water going into that water basin. In addition, the stream, which flows to that, I think there's 3 drainage easements running through that and one a constant year-round stream. How is the stream delineated versus the wetlands?
The streams are delineated based off of bank characteristics, essentially. So firstly, there's 2 intermittent streams on the site, and then they converge to form a perennial stream. The intermittent streams, as I stated before, the bank wasn't delineated for the intermittent stream, so the intermittent streams locations aren't 100% accurate. But the perennial stream, where they converge, and from the point where they converge to the point where they exit the property, that is assumed to be accurate if the Conservation Commission votes that way. But that is what the town's consultant approved of as well.
And if there was development in the area, they wouldn't be allowed to relocate the stream banks or the wetland locations at all, would they?
No, they would have to go with the delineation if we determine that, if we agree with their wetland scientists and our hired town wetland scientist, they would have to, they couldn't change them. It stays.
Okay. And last question, if there was development, could they increase the elevation of the non-wetland space? I mean, if they've got 1 foot above the wetland elevation, could they then come in and bring in a lot of fill and make it 5, 10 feet higher?
I mean, if it's not in a...
It's not a notice of intent right now, so it's kind of hard for us to determine that.
Yeah, as he's pointed out,
I mean,
a
they
little
can't do
premature, I
anything.
understand, but I'm sort of looking at, if you draw the line on the ground, what is the further implications of that, and how much does it limit or allow the development of doing that?
It's a difficult discussion to have because anything that happens in the future is hypothetical, and we're not allowed to deliberate about hypothetical situations. So we can't really go into too much discussion about a question like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will say that the delineation, there was a previous delineation done 10 years ago, and because someone else was interested now, we made them go back because obviously wetland resources or the boundaries of wetlands can change over time. So there is a certain time frame that it's essentially good for. So it's not like, once we set the boundary, it could change given over, maybe 10 years, we would make someone go back. So.
Okay, thank you.
Just real quick. How does replication,
It's a 1-for-1.
it's a one-for-one?
Yeah.
All right, so anything that they moved would have to be replicated on site?
Yes.
All right, so did we answer one of those questions incorrectly? Because the flags are there, but is it, I'm wording this very carefully because hypothetical,
Well, the ORAD will be good for 3 years.
Yeah.
the what?
The ORAD would be good for 3 years.
All right,
So basically, I'm assuming that if they're going to do something, they do it within that 3 years,
while this ORAD applies.
while the ORAD applies.
All right. All right. All right, any further questions or discussion about this? All right. If that's the case, and this is where I want to get or actually, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing of the abbreviated Notice of Resource Area Delineation, Civil Design Consultants, Inc., Vale Street and Tadmuck Circle, Assessors Map 112, lots 23, 87 to 94, DEP file number 3051141.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The chair votes aye as well. All right, so the actual motion for issuing this notice of intent.
I'll make a motion for a negative determination for abbreviated Notice of Resource Area Delineation, Civil Design Consultants, Vale and Tadmuck Circle, Assessors Map 112, lots 23, 87-94.
It would be like approving the resources, not like a negative determination.
It's approving, a negative one is approving.
Yeah, I think it would be approving the delineation, the notice of resource area delineation is shown on the plan.
Right.
I think,
Yeah.
as opposed to a negative determination,
Right, yeah.
I think is the right way to
right.
phrase it.
So it would be the Conservation Commission approving the resource areas delineated on the most recent site plan.
Correct.
All right, so can I have a motion to approve the,
I'll make a motion for a negative determination on the abbreviated Notice of Resource Area Delineation, Civil Design Consultant, Vale and Tadmuck Circle, Assessors Map 112, lots 23, 87, 94, DEP file number 3051141 on plans dated, what did I just do with those?
I think you just don't want to include the word negative.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not a
In
negative
RDA,
determination,
yeah,
they're
it's not
applying
like that.
for, they want this issued.
Right, but we usually do a negative determination on that.
So sometimes we do that if we had a development located near a wetland, right? So we'd have a negative determination of applicability, but I think with this, I think it's the approval of a resource area delineation.
Okay.
I believe that's.
All right, I'll make the motion to approve what I just said and remove the word negative.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And let's just, when issuing the permit, let's review the minutes and just make sure that we got that correct. I think we're in agreement. I just want to make sure that when anything's approved, it's, actually what we're all intended.
Sure.
The ORAD should make reference to the letter from Bill Manuel.
In the current existing condition plan.
Yep.
Yep, okay, thank you very much.
All right.
Oh, wow.
Next on the agenda is public hearing, notice of intent, Michael and Kelly Mullaney, 183 Kendall Road, map 64, lot 102, DP file number 3051145. Can you please state your names for the record?
Andrea Kendall with LEC Environmental Consultants.
And I'm Michael Mullaney, homeowner of 183 Kendall Road.
Thank you for coming. The floor is yours.
Sure, thank you. Mike Novak, from Patriot Engineering, and I guess are swapping places tonight. He was here at the first public hearing. I was not able to attend, but he really ran the ship in terms of the plan preparation and the design for some of the site restoration. I delineated the wetlands and been working with Joe Fontaine to, bring this along. My understanding from the last public hearing is that we were just waiting for the DEP file number to be issued, and since that time it has. So I'm here to entertain any further questions. I think a lot of things were hashed out last time, but if there's anything else remaining, I'm happy to discuss them.
Any questions or comments?
I have no further comments from the last Conservation Commission meeting. I think the Conservation Commission had proposed prior to the commencement of construction, a silt fence and compost filter tube shall be installed as per the site plan. The conservation agent, myself, shall inspect the erosion and sediment controls prior to the commencement of construction. If not already explicitly stated within the site plan, I think there was mention of just the erosion control blanket to be applied to the north and east side of the slopes, I believe. I just wasn't sure if the site plan had one or the other, but Mike Novak said both slopes. And then the last one, we talked about having a qualified individual just do a one-year site visit to see if the vegetation along the slopes is growing successfully. And then if not, it's on the applicant to reseed, and so.
That's reasonable, so thank you. Yeah.
All right, any other questions or comments? This is a public hearing, so if there's anybody who would like to stand up and ask a question, not seeing anybody do so, I will take a motion to close the public hearing. Notice of intent, Michael and Kelly Mullaney, 183 Kendall Road, map 64, lot 102, DEP file number 3051145.
So,
Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
aye.
Chair votes aye as well. All right, so I will now do I have a motion to approve the notice of intent, Michael and Kelly Mullaney, 183 Kendall Road, map 64, lot 102, DEP file number 3051145.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Did you guys? All right, I'm gonna, all those in favor of not approving, please say so by saying nay. I'm not hearing anybody. And hold on. So, I've only gotten 2 ayes, and I believe.
I think everyone said aye, right?
I said aye.
Oh, you did? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. All right. I thought they were abstaining from voting. I'm sorry. All right. Never mind. I take that back. I thought I had some bad news. All right. So the chair votes aye as well, and it's been approved.
Okay,
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for being understanding, everybody.
All right, well, thanks for your help with all of this, and be before you again at some point, I'm sure. for
I'm
something
still
else.
new at this, so
That's all good.
Thank you.
thank you. All right. Next on the agenda, request for certificate of compliance John Magano, Oh, did I skip?
Yeah, skip.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm all over the place. All right. Public hearing, notice of intent, James Sullivan on behalf of Janice Harmon, 25 Brownsville Road, map 109, lot 35, DEP file number 3051144.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Dick Hugo from Woodland Design.
And I'm Jim Sullivan.
Nice to
So we
meet
were
you.
here last week. And we presented our petition and application, and we didn't have a file number, which we now have. Although I did notice on the comment page that it says, waiting for the fee to clear revenue, which,
I actually inquired with Mass DEP about that. As long as the NOI number is issued, those comments are essentially just lingering, so
Oh, okay.
it doesn't nullify the DEP file number,
I
which
brought-
was, I was worried about that, so.
well, I brought the canceled check with me, just in case. Just in case it was kind of, but I assumed that they didn't go back in and change that, but I was looking for the number, and I'm like, waiting for the fee to clear, but,
As long as it's issued.
yeah. So anyways, we can go over the project again if you like, if not, if you remember, and we're just waiting.
I
for
think
the-
I remember it pretty well, but if you could give a brief.
Yeah, basically, we're constructing a single-family home that's about 100 feet away from the resource area. There'll be some grading in the backyard, but the majority of the work is going to be outside the 100-foot buffer zone. And the property is serviced by town sewer and water, and we agreed that prior to doing any work, we would have the siltation fences, devices put in, and have Mr. Fontaine come out and inspect it before any excavation.
Any questions or comments from the commission?
No, I'm good. I'm good. Good.
This is a public hearing. If there's anybody who would like to speak on behalf of this, not seeing anybody rise, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing for notice of intent, James Sullivan on behalf of Janice Harmon, 25 Brownsville Road, map 109, lot 53, DEP file number 3051144. Can I have a
So moved.
Can I have a second? And all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Chair votes aye as well.
What do you say?
I listen to podcasts all day and have headphones in my ears. All right, I will entertain a motion to approve the notice of intent, James Sullivan on behalf of Janice Harmon, 25 Brownsville Road, map 109, lot 53, DEP file number 3051144.
So moved.
Can I have a second? And all those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, now it's the request for certificate of compliance, John Magano, 371 Foster Road, Assessors Map 57, Lot 207, DEP file number 3051104. Is there anybody here for that? Not seeing anybody. Joe, do you have any?
Yeah, I'm still waiting on a letter of substantial compliance. I think the last Conservation Commission meeting, we had a request to postpone it a month. We just weren't sure whether to put it on this agenda or the next one, so I still don't have that letter, so I would recommend to the commission to not approve it until I get the letter.
Make sure it's not one of these people that just walked in.
I don't, I've met with them and,
Okay.
yeah, so I think so.
All right, so can I have a motion to, what am I blanking on?
Continue.
Continue. The request for certificate of compliance, John Magano, 371 Foster Road, Assessors Map 57, Lot 207, DEP file number 3051104.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. That's been continued to the next meeting. All right. Request for certificate of compliance, New England Power Company utility right-of-way across from 10 Carter Street, Assessors Map 103, Lot 2, DEP file number 3051108. Is there anybody here for that? Please introduce yourself for the record.
I'm Kellen Cotswitz from VHB, representing New England Power for this COC.
Floor is yours.
Great. Yeah, I'll give you a quick overview of the project. So it's just a structure replacement in the utility right-of-way, structure 27 of the S145 line. It's off of Lumber Lane, technically, and it's in the middle of the wetland. So the replacement that was conducted is we replaced the leaning structure approximately 50 feet south of the existing structure. And we use helical piles, so it's kind of like a new construction technique with drilling 6 helical piles in and then having this concrete foundation that sits on top of it for replacement. So that was conducted early, I guess partially last fall, and then was completed in the spring. And so after completion, the temporary construction matting was removed, and the work area that was surrounded by silt fence, there was a little sand they had to use within the wetland just to maintain how they were installing the structure there. So after that construction, we had a back truck come in and clean that up. And I provided Joe with the final inspection report that we did for that, showing the cleanup of the area. And we also, last Thursday, I believe it was, Joe and I did a site walk of the area. Difficult to see because it's in the middle of a wetland, but saw completion of the project and then restoration of, unfortunately, it's mostly Phragmites in the area, but there's
It's mostly what?
Phragmites, just an invasive species, invasive plant that, it's restored to existing or to previous conditions. So yeah, I know I supplied you guys with some hard copies of cover letter, filing fee, as-built plan, and I sent a little later on the certified letter from the engineer. We had that stamped, certifying completion of the project per the original plans. With that, happy to answer any questions you may have.
I guess just to reiterate a few of his points, the substantial compliance letter was provided to me. It's just not provided in time for your packets. I did a site walk. It's all essentially regrown, so it certainly meets that performance standard. I had no issues. It was essentially all revegetated. As built were there, substantial compliance letter, vegetation looks good, so I have no issues.
All right, any questions or concerns?
I have none.
All right. Could I have a motion to approve the request for a certificate of compliance, New England Power Company utility right-of-way across from 10 Carter Street, Assessors Map 103, Lot 2, DEP file number 3051108.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much for.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Agenda item F, request for a certificate of compliance, Power Company 33, New England Power Company 339 transmission line right-of-way, Assessors Map 49, 78, and 103, lots 34, 35, and 2, respectively. DEP file number 3051109. Anybody here for that? Oh.
Good evening, Tewksbury Conservation Commission. This is Allison Milliman with BSC Group on behalf of New England Power for this request for certificate of compliance. The subject of this certificate of compliance is 8 transmission line structures where they conducted exploratory soil borings. I did complete a field review with Joe Fontaine on Friday, and we reviewed restoration of all areas subject to the review of the commission.
All right.
Similar to the last project, I conducted a site visit with Allison. The vegetation looks good. The original plans didn't involve a stamp from an engineer or surveyor, so there wasn't a need for a substantial compliance letter. So, again, I didn't see any issues out in the field. No further comment either.
Any other
No
comments?
questions. It looks like it's coming back good.
What was that?
It's coming back good in the pictures.
All right. Could I have a motion to approve the request for certificate of compliance, New England Power Company, 339 transmission line right-of-way, Assessors Map 49, 78, and 103, lots 34, 35, and 2 respectively, DEP file number 305-1109.
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much for zooming in.
Thank you. Good evening.
All right. Agenda item G, request for certificate of compliance, Town of Tewksbury, Department of Public Works, sewer pump station upgrades along Eastgate Road, Joanne Drive, Lewis Road, Sawyer Lane, and Main Street. DEP file number 305-1040. Is there anybody here for that?
I was informed that they wouldn't be showing up, but they would just hope that the commission would, entertain, I guess, my thoughts on the site visit that I conducted with Arthur from the Town of Tewksbury DPW. Similar to the last 2 projects, I conducted a site visit of all of the areas that were subject to Conservation Commission jurisdiction. Similar to the last 2 projects, the project involved minor soil disturbance around areas where they're installing generators for some of the sewer pump stations around town. So the areas have all been reseeded. They installed a silt fence straw wattle during construction. There was one remnant compost filter sock there, but the idea is to keep it there to stabilize like a slope area, so just keep it at the toe of the slope. And then they're going to monitor it over time and then remove it once it's stabilized. So overall, everything looked like it was in good condition, and I have no issues and no further comment.
All right. Any other questions or concerns about this one?
None.
Not hearing anything. I will entertain a motion to approve the request for certificate of compliance, Town of Tewksbury, Department of Public Works, sewer pump station upgrades along Eastgate Road, Joanne Drive, Lewis Road, Sawyer Lane, and Main Street. DP file number 305-1040.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. All right. Right along. All right, certificate of compliance, request for certificate of compliance, Luis Suarez, 30 Harold Place, Assessors Map 3, Lot 115, DEP file number 305-683. Is there anybody here for that? Please come up and introduce yourself for the record.
Louis Soares, 30 Harold Place.
You're here for, is this a partial certificate of?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Is there anything?
So a little bit of history for this road. The Harold Place is a subdivision. It was there's various NOIs filed for the subdivision. Some of the lots, including 30 Harold Place, got their own NOI filing. So DEP file 305-683 applies to the 30 Harold Place property by itself. It applied for the dwelling, the construction of the dwelling, and a septic system. The applicant had provided a recent Title V, which essentially acts as an as-built because they do, where the septic system is located. Also, through building department records over time, there's plot plans, certified plot plans, so that essentially acts as the as-built for the dwelling itself. There wasn't any major areas of non-compliance when you compare the as-built to the original plans of the subdivision. I did do the site visit, although I didn't meet you. I was out there, so. But it's the dwelling itself is located greater than 100 feet from the wetlands. That's essentially how it was designed. So with that, I have no further comments. Everything looked good. So. Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry. So the order of conditions for the project, there were various conditions for it. I know some of it involved a performance bond. However, as I previously mentioned, through some additional research, that performance bond was released under a different NOI filing. So that no longer applies. And I was going to say, yeah, the last condition for this order of conditions was the infiltration of water shall be part of the certificate of compliance. Essentially, I think that lacks explicit detail to even enforce. And I think it could be referencing other NOIs within the subdivision. So I would recommend to the Conservation Commission to not consider that condition.
All right. Any questions or comments about this one? Not seeing any. So this will be a...
This would be a complete, by the way.
it would be a complete?
Yes, because as I said, it's not, usually it's a partial because it's part of a subdivision, but in this case, these lots were considered by themselves, so it would be a complete.
Oh, that's good news. All right. I will entertain a motion to approve the request for a certificate of compliance, Luis Suarez, 30 Harold Place, Assessors Map 3, Lot 115, DEP file number 305683.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much. All right, this is a public hearing. Public hearing, request for amended order of conditions, PAR Corporation, 1023 and 1029 East Street, Assessors Map 103, lots 80 and 129, DEP file number 3051132.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for coloring.
I can't take the credit.
There you go. And if you could just introduce yourselves for the record.
First of all, thanks, Joe, for all your help to help set this up at the last minute.
Yep.
My name is Al Hanscom. I'm a licensed site professional, an environmental consultant with PAR Corporation. We are retained by Mark Roca, who's in the audience. He is with East Street Tewksbury LLC as the developer for this site. To my left is Lauren Gluck. She is a senior wetland scientist with Power Corporation. Okay, as you probably know, and I think Joe has done a little research since the original order of conditions was issued, the original plan for the foundation of the building on this site was to have some soil amendment, geopiers or helical anchors or something of that nature. When Power got involved to handle the MCP-related issues, because it is a release site that has an activity and use limitation on it, we looked at the feasibility of removing the cap, screening the waste materials, taking out the unsuitable subgrade materials, the peat, and putting it all back together and doing a conventional foundation for the building. And we determined that it was going to be more cost-effective to take that approach. But in order to do that, it required a specialty dewatering contractor, who is Lockwood Remediation. If you're familiar with Lockwood, they are very experienced. They're one of the top dewatering contractors in New England, and I have done a few projects with them. So we looked at the costs of installing well points around the building. I think there are 66 that were designed. And we designed the system and determined the costs of excavation. We have Mill City Environmental, who is an emergency response contractor who has OSHA health and safety trained people, OSHA 40. I am an LSP, so I'm doing the release abatement measure that's required to go onto a site that has an activity and use limitation. I'm talking mostly to Joe because I know Joe understands the MCP, and maybe the others, you all do. But we have developed our RAM plan. We've worked with Brian Chapman of Mill City Environmental on the project. We have erosion controls that we have ordered to be installed. I'd kind of like to walk through the site and then I'll explain a little bit further. Is that a good placement for the board people to see? We'll give you a handout so you can look at it.
Can you see that board? Can the cameras get it? All right, yep.
Okay.
Thumbs up.
All right. This is East Street. The building is the small gray square, this location. The black represents the well point locations. There's a dewatering pump that discharges to a frac tank, and then there's a transfer pump that will pump over to a proposed dewatering basin. Okay. The erosion controls are shown in pink. So this was the original order of conditions for erosion controls to protect the wetlands. The wetlands are all around the site. And then we're going to square it off here. Now, the reason that the basin is located where it is, we wanted to keep it away from the resource area as much as we could. We kept it out of the 100-foot wetlands buffer.
50. It's partially 100 feet, but it's not in the 50.
Well, I'm in the process of explaining that. We attempted to get all of it outside of the 100 foot, but in order to meet the infiltration requirements, because we have to pump at about 125 gallons per minute, so it's going to take a fairly significant sized basin. So we sized it at about 90 by 90. We also did a boring in the middle of the basin to determine if there was peat at about 5 feet, maybe a 1 foot layer or so. So we're going to have to over-excavate and get some of that material out so we get the infiltration capacity we need. We also had to extend to get the required footing into that 50-foot, up to, but not within the 50-foot buffer. The 50-foot buffer line doesn't show up as well here, but it's right in here. It's yellow on our plan. I see it on the handout better. So we are outside the 50-foot buffer. Okay, so we've kept it out as far as we could. And we don't expect that we're going to expand it to within 50 feet of the buffer. We also have shown down at this end of the site where we would like to have the ability to store temporarily excavated peat to allow it to be watered, and also to screen some of the waste material and store the cap materials until that is all put back. So this cross-hatched area here is where we're looking to store materials so we can keep it out of the way if we need it. Now we also have provisions in our ramp in particular that that material has to be covered. The material that doesn't need to be covered would be the peat, because we want to cover that during a rainstorm or something, so we want it to naturally dry out. So we will not be covering the peat. That won't be, provide any risk or wind erosion or anything. But the contamination and materials will be covered at all times. Under, double layer poly, double layer poly over it, secured properly, and then there'll be a ring of either compost socks or hay bales around. So we have erosion. We don't want to have stormwater coming down off the plastic and eroding around the piles. So we are proposing next week, we would like to proceed with some of the non-intrusive things. Temporary construction fence, a wooden wire type rented construction fence to secure the site, because we don't want to have anybody going onto the site when there's active construction going on. We also have the erosion controls, the paint that will be installed hopefully next week. And again, we understand that there's an appeal process, so even if we do grant the amended order of conditions and it doesn't get issued instantly, we understand that. Some of these things that we would be doing outside of the, within the appeal period would not be intrusive at that point. So we're waiting for the amended order. If the commission were to grant it, we would not be doing any of the other work that's not already permitted under the NOI, under the order of conditions. Let me just flip this over for a second. That's the other handout that Lauren gave me. And just to give you a little bit of an understanding of what's going on in the subsurface. You can see the green material is the handicap material, the sandy gravel material. The yellow, and this diagram was constructed based upon soil borings that were done by other consultants over the last several years. So we just took the soil borings and we showed the depth of waste material that was encountered at each location. We kind of just showed the profile of the waste material across the site. The black shows the building location. The existing grade is about 112. I think we're going down about 3 feet below that. The adjacent soil would be added to raise the building up a little bit. So that's all elevation-wise, it's all to scale. But you can see that we're going to excavate materials. The waste material is the yellow. The peat is the blue. So you can see that we're going to be excavating at various depths to get the peat out. Then we'll be backfilling with good granular material. We'll be controlling the compaction rate. We'll be doing it in the dry because the groundwater, which currently resides just below where the building foundation would be, because of the well point systems that are going to be pumping the groundwater around the perimeter of the building. That groundwater level will be pulled down to about this elevation down here, just below, about a foot below the perimeter. And then we'll be compacting the gravel and the screening waste materials will be in kind of a sandwich fashion. It'll be backfilled and we will meet certain compacting requirements that are required to support the building. I think we're looking for 2,500 pounds per square foot support, soil bearing capacity. So that's pretty much what we're looking to do. So we would like to get an amended order that would allow us to go forward with the project as presented here. We think that the duration would be on the order of about 6 to 8 weeks overall to get this work done. If things go well, it will be 6 weeks. If they don't, it'll be 1.
Any questions from the?
I just have a couple of questions. The waste material, you're going to dispose of that? You taking that off-site or?
No, the waste material for the most part appears to be from all our test pits, pretty granular material, and it's not all that impacted. If we find car parts, upholstery, whatever it happens to be, that's going to be screened out and disposed of off-site.
Okay, that's
Most of it would be solid waste, but some of it might be contaminated.
Isn't all the soil contaminated if a little bit is? You can't kind of pick and choose what's contaminated soil.
Under the MC, let me just Let me ask you to restate your question so I'm addressing your question.
If you're saying there's contaminated soil, isn't the whole area contaminated? You can't pick and choose to screen it out or filter it. It's contaminated soil.
Let's go back. Let's just, for an example, on a roadway project, when we do roadway projects and we excavate subgrade soils on roadway project, if it's contaminated, we don't really, unless it's gross contamination, that goes back into the hole as long as it's geotechnically suitable to support the pavement. The same thing applies here. If that material is geotechnically suitable, it's on an MCP disposal site, it stays on the MCP disposal site. The only thing that we're not going to put back are the materials we just talked about, things that can't be compacted to achieve what we need to achieve. It's perfectly fine for material to reside at the site where it is. It's been assessed, it's been capped, and the means of dealing with contamination on a site like this is to cap it to eliminate exposure potential. So we're going to be putting that material back into the hole, except for the material that is not compactable.
My next question is, how high are the piles going to be?
How high, it depends on how high they are. I would say they're probably, if they were 15 feet, I would be surprised. They probably won't exceed 15 feet.
Well, the reason I ask that question is it seems like every time we approve something, especially on Main Street, the only thing that goes in there is a pile of dirt. You go 5 miles down the road, another pile of dirt, another 5 miles down the road, another pile of dirt in a dump truck. You know, so you do have the land disturbance permit from the building department, correct?
What?
The land disturbance or the building permit?
The building permit, I believe, is going in tomorrow. We have the stamped foundation plan that just came in. It's going to be a Millbrook home, carried on Andy's involved. He's submitting a package to the building commission.
Okay. I'd like to have that permit issued, but we can do the motion on this contingent upon that permit being approved by the building department.
Just thinking out loud, because I would like, because of the weather, we're trying to proceed with the work, but we also understand that there's going to be some other reviews. That's completely up to the commission. If you want to commission it upon the approval of the building commission, that's your problem.
So to allow.
Well, you must, if you're in the, don't you have to have a permit for land disturbance from the builder, from the planning board?
That's sounds right.
Has that been issued?
This is already been permitted to the planning board, correct? That's what we've done.
So if it is,
I think you have to have a building permit or land disturbance.
I thought you had to have a land disturbance permit.
Oh,
The permit that we know we have to have is the release of abatement measure that has to be filed with Mass DEP. Because this is an activity use limitation. It's been filed with the registry against this property, and you can't disturb it without a brand plan being filed by LSP, which is what I'm doing tomorrow morning.
Mm-hmm.
So that will be filed, you are, in the eyes of the DEP, we're able to go forward to the project as we're proposing. If you have other local bylaws, I think they've been satisfied already by civil design, because they've already permitted this project. We've got to permit the pavement, there's a whole layout that's been approved.
So the building department has permitted this project?
yeah, I mean, this has already been permitted through the Conservation Commission. I think this is more of a.
I think the site plan has been approved, but I don't think the building itself has been approved, because we just are submitting the plans tomorrow.
Okay,
But the permit has been issued to develop the site.
right.
Okay, that's what I'm getting at. The permit is issued to develop the
It's
site.
not the building permit, it's the site
Right.
development.
Okay.
Okay. So my question is, or one of my questions are, after you excavate waste materials, peat, are you placing a cap back on that? Because isn't the soil and its contamination and its allowance to be there at its current contamination levels contingent on the cap remaining there,
The cap is
correct?
going to be replaced, yes.
Okay.
So the perimeter of the building, we are going to be replacing the entire cap, and we may reconfigure some of the waste materials under the RAM plan, other places within the AUL area. The other thing I want to highlight is that the basin, the infiltration basin,
Yes.
is within the AUL area. We did not extend the basin outside because we really wouldn't be able to pump groundwater from the remediation site and infiltrate outside the AUL area. It's a requirement of the MCP.
Okay.
But yes, this area right here, for example, there'll be excavation here because we need to get competent material roughly 10 feet outside the wall. That'll all be compacted, draining material below grade. So we will have to replace this layer. We have to have a 3-foot clean cap. And I always put separation fabric. So we use top fabric and 3 feet of clean material all around the perimeter of the building.
Okay. Also, just considering the potential size of the soil stockpiles, 15 feet with that area, I would recommend, obviously contingent on the Conservation Commission's approval, but just adding a silt fence behind the hay bales just as an extra preventative measure around the soil stockpile area.
Certainly we can do that. My experience has been if we anchor either compost socks or hay bales around the perimeter, we have to cover the pollen now, except for the peat.
Except for the peat.
But the peat will be covered when we have a rainstorm, so we will be covering that, we'll be securing it, and we'll be having probably the straw wattles or the compost socks to break the velocity. All we're trying to do is break the velocity of the runoff coming off the sheets, so we're not looking at a lot of water that causes a lot of erosion. So I don't think that the silt fence per se is going to give you a whole lot of extra protection. But we don't want to let the water just sheet over the poly and then erode the ground.
Right. Again, up to the Conservation Commission, but just something to think about.
I think what I would like to do, if you'd be willing to accept this, is that if we have a problem with any of those areas, then we would install that immediately.
Okay.
I think we're probably going to be fine without it, but you're welcome to weigh in, and if you think it's necessary, then we'll install it.
Yeah, would you be willing to monitor this site? I don't know what's an appropriate amount.
Yeah, I will conduct site visits.
Inspections after runoff, any significant runoff events, we're going to be out inspecting erosion controls, including stockpiles. So if we see anything, we'll let you know, Joe.
Is there a SWIP inspector?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
I just have one more question. You have the soil stockpile area, that's the contaminated soil, or the stuff you're going to screen.
It would be the excavated clean cap. It would be the temporary storage waste materials.
Okay, so you're not keeping those separate as you go.
Oh, they're going to be separate stockpiles.
Right,
That's
so
why
your fence between the contaminated stuff and the cap stuff, is there going to be a fence between that so it doesn't?
Infiltrate
Yeah.
each other, yeah.
Well, the waste material is going to be polyethylene, double sheet of poly underneath, and it's all going to be a double polyethylene sheet over the top. So the waste materials themselves are going to be completely covered and encapsulated.
But while they're working,
I think what he's saying, he's going to put plastic on top and it won't infiltrate the other when you have the piles side by side.
It's
They're
not,
contaminated.
rainwater will not infiltrate through the waste materials because it's going to be covered.
Right,
what I'm saying is during construction, or when they're doing the digging and they're piling and it starts raining, you're just going to quit and just cover it?
Well, let's go back a little bit to the nature of the waste materials. It's mostly inert type materials. It's heavy metals primarily. We don't have a lot of petroleum in this area, so it's not like it's going to be leaching out through the rainwater.
That's my concern.
The heavy metals are in the same place, PCBs, the metal, the parts themselves. I don't think there's a lot of material that would leach out of this type of waste material. We don't have any significant groundwater impacts at this site. They just be minimal groundwater impacts below regulatory standards. So groundwater isn't impacted, so you would expect that rainwater going on a temporary basis would migrate contamination to the environment.
Right.
So if that were an issue, I would be the first to be saying, yeah, let's make sure.
Well, that's why I asked the question.
How much of an area you're going to be, just the foundation area, all you dig it up?
Well, the foundation area here, and we've set the well points back so we could stockpile the soil around it. And this area, because of the confining layer, we need to bench up some soil.
Could you point to the big map so we can all see?
Okay, the question was where we're going to be digging. We're going to be digging the foundation here. There'll be roughly a 1-to-1 side slope which is why we've set the dewatering wells back. These well points are set back. This basin, which is roughly 90 by 90 or 90 by 85, something like that, we'll be digging down in this area. So these are the only two areas of the site under this phase of the project that we're going to be digging.
That's fine. Thank you.
And then there'll be the stockpile area over here where some of this material will be stockpiled. Same with some of the stockpile material here. Some of the peat material might be moved over here if it's really wet. If we have dry, we can get dry material out of there. We want to dewater naturally on the site. We could live road and ship that. But we're not looking to store any soil within the 100-foot buffer over here. If we store soil, it would be over in this area, which is outside.
And how far do you plan on digging down?
We're looking at about a 6 to 7 foot over here, just simply because of the volume of water that we need and also the amount of peat that we need. Once we get under that, it's naturally occurring sand throughout this whole site, so we've got pretty good infiltration rates once we get down.
Do you plan to reuse some of the peat? Or do you just want it to dry out because it's cheaper to get rid of it when it's not dry?
It's going to be managed on-site. We do have some on-site locations for the peat.
So
we're going to use it as soil amendment, but I'm going to verify that it's not contaminated because we can't take it on-site.
the excavation, so once you get down to your desired depth for the building, it's all going to be backfilled with clean fill? Okay.
Sandy ground.
How about erosion and sediment controls around the basin itself? Isn't that just an earthen berm as designed?
Well, we've got erosion controls right here, the pink's right there.
It might be worth, again, up to the Conservation Commission just to throw a straw wattle around that as well. Might be overkill, but could help.
I'm not sure how much room there would be at the northeast corner of here. We're kind of right at the edge of the AUL area. Certainly we could on this side.
Would installing a straw wattle affect that?
I don't see any problem. I mean, this is
Okay.
The runoff, surface water runoff comes this way. So
Sure.
if we put a straw wattle, we already have a
Oh, I see. Around, okay. Along that side, yeah,
What
sure.
I'm saying is if you want a double row here or at the base of the embankment here, you can do that.
Sure. Well, I guess up to the Conservation Commission, but. And then again, up to the Conservation Commission, if there was some emphasis, it seemed like placing the soil stockpile outside of the 50 foot. So just to somehow ensure that it remains outside of the 50-foot.
We've already staked out the 50-foot line up at the site.
Okay.
So you'll see
Okay.
colored stakes, I think it's the orange stakes.
Okay.
You'll see, so we've already delineated where the erosion control is going to be installed.
Okay.
And we've also done the 50 and 100 foot.
Then regarding the dewatering system itself, could you elaborate on the controls that would be in place to ensure that there would be no spill over the top of the basement?
Because we already have engineered that. First of all, we're using a diesel operated pump. We would have had to run a 480 service in 3 days, and we just really couldn't do that in a short period of time, nor would it be very cost effective to do that. So we're using diesel powered pumps. The diesel powered pump that is going to operate the well point system is going to have a decibel level of about 48, which is not projection, but we're talking next to it. The transfer that we will be pumping from the well points with the pump here over to the frac tank. There'll be a frac tank located there, and then we'll have a transfer pump, which would operate at about 68 decibels when it's operating. It doesn't operate continuously, but when you first operate it, it will probably operate continuously. But it's fairly quiet. It's not something that you might conjure up in your mind as being a diesel pump. So that will be there, and we're going to be pumping over at about 125 gallons a liter. So we have a dumped riprap basin here to prevent erosion of the destruction of pipe.
Is there like high level alarm switches? And
High level shut off.
okay.
Because of, if you're familiar with the area, residents a little bit lower in elevation across the street, so they would be one of the prime suspects if there was ever an overflow. So we certainly don't have that liability.
Yes.
So we do have a high level alarm and a shut off that will actually shut the pumps down. So
Okay.
if it's occur overnight or something, it would interrupt the circuit.
It is a 24/7 pumping process, correct?
It is, yes, it is. Unless we, for some reason, as we backfill and we get a little higher, we can shut the system off for a while. Water can back up as we backfill.
There's not going to be a on-site personnel to monitor that 24/7, correct?
Not 24/7, but
Okay.
because of the alarm and because of the system that we have, we feel like that's adequate protection. However, we will have people checking it daily, and we'll be checking the water level and keeping track of where that is, and if it should approach the stage where we would be thinking to shut it off, then we would be thinking about probably throttling back the pumping rate.
Okay. For the on-site generators, first of all, are there going to be any? My understanding is yes, at least for the diesel pump. And where would they be located?
My understanding of these pumps is that they're diesel-operated pumps that are kind of integral to the unit. There's a fuel storage supply next to it.
Okay.
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, any fuel storage on the site.
There'll be fuel storage associated with that.
Okay. Would that be located outside of the 100-foot buffer zone, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. All of the pumping, you can see the blue is the 100-foot buffer line. So the pumps, and again, I haven't talked with Paul Lockwood specifically about the location, but I can make sure that it's not within the 100-foot buffer.
Okay.
That actually, for example, this line that line could be moved over here. We can move the frac tank over here, so we can come into the middle of this area where we're pumping and be totally outside of the 100-foot buffer.
Okay. This might be
Questions, Joe? You must have done your homework.
concrete washout areas. When you guys get to that point of laying the foundation, is there going to be any?
We would not allow concrete washout on the site. not,
Okay.
not within any structural areas, and again, that's not something I'm involved with at all.
Okay.
Off-site at that time.
And my last question is, the original order of condition called for a snow removal plan to be reviewed by the conservation agent prior to the commencement of work. I do not have that on file.
Snow removal plan,
Yes.
I guess we will submit a snow removal.
Sounds good.
I wasn't aware of that. We will follow up on that.
All right. Any other questions or
No, I'm good.
comments?
Good.
All right.
You got a good agent, guys.
What's that?
You have a good agent.
Nice.
That's good stuff.
All right. So. The double erosion controls around the, silt fence behind the bay hills. Are you comfortable doing that? That was I think the very
On the
first question.
stockpiles, I think what I was proposing, again, it's up to the commission, not me, but what I was proposing is to do the single row of straw bottles or
I would do hay
compost
bale.
filter stocks.
Oh, okay.
And then if there was a problem, we would be backing that up with a silver fence. And whenever we have a rainstorm on a project like this, we'll go out and inspect the erosion controls, all of them, including the erosion controls around the stockpiles, and then we'll repair or implement whatever corrective actions.
Yeah, if you have a SWIP inspector, they should be knowledgeable
Oh, yeah.
to do whatever as far as erosion and sediment controls.
All right, this is a public hearing. Is there anybody from the public? Not seeing anybody. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing, a request for amended order of conditions, PAR Corporation 1023 and 1029 East Street, Assessors Map 103, lots 80 and 129, DEP file number 3051132.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. The public hearing is closed. Just turn off my cell phone. All right. And now, can I have a motion to approve the request for amended order of conditions, PAR Corporation 1023 and 1029 East Street, Assessors Map 103, lots 80 and 129, DEP file number 3051132.
We might want to include the date of the plan, too.
The,
Updated, so that'd be October.
yeah, per the plan dated when?
10/20/21.
10/20/21. All right. Thank you. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you for your time and answering all of our questions. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.
We appreciate it. And Joe, I'll give you a call tomorrow.
Sure, sounds good.
Thank you. Thanks for all your help.
All right. Last two. Emergency certificate, Deborah Versace, 85 Martha Avenue, map 88, lot 38. Nobody here for that, but Joe, could you quickly elaborate on this emergency certification?
The emergency certification was in regard to a sewer connection permit. I went out to the site. I talked with the homeowner. She had explained that part of her septic system had a broken pipe and that she wasn't sure how long her septic system was going to last for. So I ran it by the Board of Health. They considered it under their own regulations a threat to public health. I defer to the health agency to make that determination when it comes to septic systems and Title V stuff. So in conjunction with the health department issuing an emergency order, I had also issued an emergency certification. I had talked with a contractor who's doing the work just to establish a silt fence or a straw wattle. I think the septic tank is probably about 30 feet from a wetland. So still in communication with him. The work has not been done yet, but they have 30 days to get it done. I think it was issued on the 27th-ish, or circa October 27th.
All right, any questions or comments from the?
I have none.
All right, can I have a motion to approve the emergency certification for Deborah Versace, 85 Martha Avenue, Assessors Map 88, Lot 38?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. And now, agenda item K, discussion of Wetlands Protections Fund.
This is a request by me for some training on stormwater management. The Massachusetts stormwater management regulations are built into the Wetland Protection Act. I know traditionally the town defers to the engineering department to do any calculations or anything like that. I'm essentially just trying to seek additional training to have more than a surface level understanding of any stormwater calcs necessary for Conservation Commission filings, and just have a better understanding of that so that I can have a deeper conversation with the engineering department about compliance. So as far as the classes and cost, I think the certificate program is 6 courses, and I think the total cost is $1,100 over the course of November through April of 2022. For reference, I was told that we have like the remaining balance in the Wetland Protection Fund is around $90,000, just for reference.
Yeah, well, this is education, so I don't have a problem with it.
All right, so we typically go a little bit above just in case there's any.
Sales tax or something.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So what do you think is a good number? Do you want to go to 14 or 1,500 or something?
I would go with the 1,500.
1,500. All right, so can I have a motion to approve $1,500 out of the Wetlands Protection Funds for education for our Conservation Commission agent?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. All right, any old business?
I would, whether this is old business or new business, we can change the start times if we want. I know this came up at a previous Conservation Commission meeting. We were entertaining the idea of maybe starting at 6:30. I inquired with the community development administrator. That isn't an issue with any other, like it's not going to interfere with any other commissions or boards.
It doesn't mess these guys up, does it?
Oh, yeah.
Did you forget all about
Do you
that?
Do you mind if we start at 6:30 instead of 7 o'clock? All right.
Okay. So, did you guys?
Start at 6:30?
It doesn't matter to me, whatever you.
I would rather start at 6:30.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my bedtime.
All right.
All right.
Okay, we also have to approve the things from the schedule.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Did we not do that last time? Or did we just?
Because James
Yeah.
wasn't here. Yeah.
Sure, told us.
So we can do it the next meeting.
Yeah.
That's not a big issue.
Okay.
But when do we want to start the 6:30? We want to wait a couple of meetings?
So
Or the first of the year?
Is that the new schedule was written for next year, so
Right.
that's when it will go into effect. And-
Okay.
All right, so we'll have to approve that, or officially approve that next
Right.
meeting and stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
All right, under new business, we unfortunately had a member, James McMullen, resign from the commission due to, busy life, and it's understandable, and we thank him for his service on the commission. And I wish I had said this before when we had a big crowd, but we are now accepting applications. So it would be nice if we got a few and we could fill the vacancy quite quickly. So thank you, James, for your service. I don't know which camera to look at. I'm sure he's going to watch this tonight or tomorrow. All right, no administrators report, I assume?
Nope.
All right, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you. Oh, next meeting is November 17th, and it's in the the first floor meeting room.